alcohol consumption is, in fact, the third leading cause of preventable death in the United States. Joining me now to talk more about this is Dr. Vivian B. She is the section chief of breast surgical
up that we out here for these
at
bitches.
New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. Thank you so much for coming on to talk to us about this, Dr. B. And why don't we start with your assessment of this latest move by the Surgeon General?
Look, I think it is long overdue. I was excited to see that the Surgeon General has advised that we really educate the community and educate people that there is this inherent risk with alcohol use and cancer. And as a breast cancer physician and doctor, it's my duty to really ensure my patients that they know what their risks are so that they can then therefore decrease their risk of developing cancer.
Speak a little bit more specifically about that so they know what their risks are. What are their risks?
Yeah, so what we know is, and this is, by the way, scientists and physicians have known this for a while, that alcohol is a carcinogen. And so it increases the risk of cancers, and specifically 7 cancers, as the Surgeon General and his team have identified. There has been great research to support an increased risk for breast cancer, for colorectal cancer, for liver cancer, esophageal cancer, as well as oral, pharyngeal, and laryngeal cancers. And so knowing that there is a risk is the first step. When we think about or talk about statistics, we know that in the United States, as it relates to cancer and alcohol use, over 100,000 cancers can be attributed to alcohol use. And so this is what we call a modifiable risk factor. And when you combine over 10 years, that's over 1 million potential preventable cancers that are attributed to alcohol.
As a lot of people are going to take this information and say, well, I'm not going to give up my glass of wine with dinner. Is there how do you assess the risk involved? How do you balance the information that you just provided with the habit and the enjoyment that a lot of people find from having a drink? What's an okay amount, if any?
Yeah, so look, alcohol has become really part of society and our social outings that we sort of when we hang out with friends and family. And so it may be difficult to say, I'm going to completely stop alcohol. What I would encourage people to think about is eliminating or decreasing alcohol use. For example, we know this is January, which is dry January, where a lot of folks are saying, you know what, let me try a mocktail instead of alcohol. That's a good start to really decrease your risk. Now, one of the myths that we should point out is that, you know, we often think if I am a binge drinker or I drink a lot of alcohol, then my risk increases. But really what the Surgeon General has highlighted is some important research that shows even minimal use can increase the risk. Now, all is not lost. You can say, you know what, I'm going to decrease or stop drinking alcohol, and then your risk does go down slightly. But it is a carcinogen, and so we have to be thoughtful about that.
Yeah, when you say your risk does go down, for people who have been drinking probably a little bit more than they should, which I guess in what you just told us, that's any amount of alcohol consumption, and they do take this to heart, and they do either cut down or stop drinking. Are these reversible risks, or does the risk that you've already incurred stay with you?
Those risks stay with you, but it's really, when we think about science, it's a relative risk. And so when you compare someone who has had no alcohol use versus someone who has, obviously the one who has a higher risk of developing a future cancer. But when you compare those who continue every day for many years to someone who has stopped or cut back, then their risk would be lower. And so this is where we say take advantage and take ownership of your own health and the decisions that you make. All is not lost, and again, another time to participate in the dry January.
And just before I let you go, is there any amount that you're good with? Is it one cocktail a week, or you're just flat out no, don't do it?
It's a flat out no, and you know, what I will say is one drink is 1 glass of wine, which is equivalent to 1 beer, or 1.5 ounces of spirits, and even 1 or 2 drinks have shown to increase the risk of developing a future cancer. Now, I do want to say this because, again, alcohol is embedded in what we do, that there cancer risks are very multifactorial, meaning there are many reasons and many causes. Now, that is not a reason for me to say go and just drink alcohol or go and smoke, but overweight obesity also increases the risk of cancers. And so keep that in mind as you're sort of making decisions about lifestyle changes, that it is a combination, accumulation of many things that contributes to your overall cancer risk.
Dr. Vivian B., Section Chief of Breast Surgical Oncology at New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. Thank you so much.